Hello there. Welcome to Film Craic. He
Mhm.
is.
I'm Nick.
I'm Clive, and
Hmm.
we need to stop Bikerider. Bikerider needs to be stopped.
Yeah, you know what I really like is a lot of like people holding up things over their mouth so you can't see what they're saying
Yes,
when talking to their so they don't have to worry about looping their dialogue when they're yeah.
yes. So this is a bit of an emergency film. This is we didn't plan this. We kind of
Hmm.
happened quite quickly. So because I was rewatching actually a film called Cold Heat,
Hmm.
which I remember having picked up on VHS years and years ago and was like, what the fuck is this? And
Hmm. And this was completely off my radar. Like I had no idea that this and it's
I
semi
have mentioned it
equal.
to you before, I think when you
Okay.
used to live here, but clearly it
Okay.
bounced off. But
I guess so.
and I was rewatching and I was like, fuck, I really want to talk to Nick about this.
Hmm.
And as far as I can tell, it is still pretty much trapped on VHS. You can't see
Hmm.
it on YouTube. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is Ulli Lamel's Cold Heat from when's this from? 80.
89, I think,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
somewhere around there.
And yeah, so
Where
right.
even to begin?
Yes,
I have a very brief plot description here.
you go for it. Yes.
Okay. It says, what I've written down here says, it says Patrick Bateman hires Humphrey Bogart to kidnap Eddie Furlong from his ex-wife, Britt Eklund,
There we
but
go.
he hires Paul Hogan to kidnap the kid back. So old Patrick Bateman sends Dr. Gonzo and some skinny dweeb after them in a biplane to drop bombs on them. Lloyd Bridges gets mad and orders stock footage cops to chase and apprehend.
There we go. Yes, that's about the size of it. Yes.
So
So
I
this
was
is
really actually
by
honestly struck by how much John Philip Law really seems like uh, Christian Bale's version of like, especially in the opening scenes, like all the fake big grin and the kind of like the weird energy.
right. He
It's
also looks a bit like
uncanny.
Putin.
Yes, yes.
Um, yeah, so yeah, that is the plot. Well done. That is
Okay.
basically what happens in
Thanks.
Cold Heat. Um, yes, Robert Sachi is our Bogart lookalike.
The man with Bogart's face. Yes.
Yes, he was in a film called The Man with Bogart's Face.
Hmm.
And Britt Eklund spends a lot of time reading magazines, um,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, no, so yeah, it is difficult to know
It's
where.
truly batshit. This
Oh yeah,
this
it's mad
film.
because so a bulk of the film is stock footage, right? We should mention.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
let us, I suppose, let's talk a little bit about HB Halicki, right? Or
Yes.
Halicki, I don't know quite how you
Hmm.
pronounce it. So this is the guy most famous for having made Gone in 60 Seconds, right?
The original
Yes, yes.
70s, which I can remember going into video shops regularly, and I never saw it, funnily
Ah,
enough.
okay.
Yeah, so I remember always stopping and looking at the box cover because it had quite a chintzy looking box cover. I remember like
Okay.
the whatever poster they'd chosen was kind of a, and then it had that tagline to like watch 60 cars destroyed. And like I just couldn't believe that that's how they were selling the movie. It was like we bought this many cars and we destroyed them, and it was like and but yeah, for some reason never pulled the trigger and actually rented it and watched it. And then when I remember when it was being remade, I was like, holy what? Nicolas Cage is appearing in a remake of that thing that I used to pick up and laugh at in the video
Right.
shops as a kid.
Have you now seen the original Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now you can see it's a classic, right, of its kind. Like it is
Yes.
a
And well, I've seen it twice because I also watched
yes.
Deadline.
Yes, I've seen
Deadline.
it a
Oh,
lot
okay.
this
In fact, I've
week
seen it
too.
three times.
Yes.
Now that I think about it, because I've also watched it in, yeah.
No, no, it's a classic. It's a classic cartoon. So yeah, basically about this
Does it
car
predate
theft
all?
ring. Huh?
Yeah, does it predate all of the Hal Needham like?
I
Does it
think it
come?
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Smokey and the
it's like a
Bandit.
couple of years before Hooper or something like that, though.
Okay.
Yeah. No, no, it's definitely because as well it was made entirely independently outside the Hollywood system, was a
Yes.
huge smash around the world, right? Um,
Right.
and yeah, and
And
Halle pretty
HB
much
really
did
treated
it
it
all
like,
himself, right? He
yeah, yeah.
does he stars in it, he directs it, he does all the stunt driving and stuff, and
And then apparently, like, really, really did like the carny stuff of like going from town to town and like selling the film
Yes,
itself, like and for like what they call four-walling it, right? Where you
yes,
basically pay
yes.
for the cinema to show it.
And it's a great. There's a because the centerpiece is this 40 minute or
Hmm
30 plus minute car chase, which amazingly like doesn't get boring because that's the
Yes.
thing, isn't it? Is how do
hmm
you keep that momentum going with nothing else pretty much going on other than that? And I think what it is because it's kind of anchored with it. It does have a logic to it, and there's a really interesting documentary. It's called Los Angeles Plays Itself. I don't know if you've
Okay.
ever seen this.
Nope.
Not to be confused with LA Plays Itself, which is a gay hardcore film,
Ah.
which actually the documentary is named after. So there's
Okay.
a gay
hmm
hardcore film called LA Plays Itself, which I've not seen, which is but is apparently considered a classic of its kind as
Okay.
well. Need to get to that at some point when
hmm
I'm in the mood. Um,
Yep.
but Los Angeles Plays Itself is this kind of documentary, it's a very long documentary. It was about 3.5 hours long. It's from and a while ago. I watched it once. It's a really good documentary, but it's also quite independent, low budget, and I guess maybe didn't get a wide release because of the film clips used. But
Okay.
inspired by LA Plays Itself, this guy made this documentary, Los Angeles Plays Itself. It's a very passionate, impassioned documentary about LA as seen on film.
Film. Right.
And it's not what he doesn't choose the films you'd expect. Well, for a
hmm
start, he chooses a gay hardcore film,
right.
but it's a very interesting selection of films that he uses to illustrate his documentary, including Gone in 60 Seconds. Now, there's a long sequence in the film about the kind of car chase geography of Gone in
Right.
68 Seconds and how it actually makes sense. Like when they
Right.
go from here to there, that is where that is. And so I think that might be the secret as to why Gone in 60 Seconds, because I think Gone in 60 Seconds is great. And I think the reason it's so engaging is somehow you don't feel as if it's just like the remix, just, well, all the edges are sanded off anyway, and it's Bruckheimer kind of thing. There's no real danger in it, but it's also just takes place in like this Neverland, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So how much of that? I mean, how much of that was obviously um like just obviously like did they have any permits? Like how
I
much of the
don't
people
know.
how much of the other people driving on the streets are just like holy fucking shit, what's going on? Like
They must have. Yeah, I think some of it was just totally guerrilla, right? Because you can tell there's people on the streets like, what the, there's like
right.
real reactions. People talk about like French Connection, for example, doing
Mm.
a similar thing, right? But I think for some of them, they had to have closed down some streets for some of it, right? Because they were
George Miller and Byron Kennedy must have seen it because I was struck
right,
by
right,
how similar in a way it is, and actually, funnily enough, Junkman even more so because it's a lot of it's in the desert with planes and shit. I was like, this feels
right.
like just this side of Mad Max, you know?
Yeah, that would have come out after, but certainly Gone in 60 Seconds must have been an influence, I think.
Mhm.
And also there's things like there's an earlier Australian biker movie called Stone as well, if you've ever seen
Oh
it.
yes,
Stuff like
which
that, right?
actually has toe
Yes.
cutter in that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And chain reaction and stuff. But yeah, so anyway, HB Haly makes Gone in 6 Seconds, smash hit around the world,
Mhm.
follows up with a film called Junkman, which we'll put a pin in
Early
that.
80s. Yeah.
We should also mention that he did do another to finish up the Haliki stuff. He did make a film called Deadline Auto Theft,
Hmm.
which is basically a remix of Gone in 60 Seconds with some new stuff. So when they were making Junkman, so
Yeah.
Junkman has a Hoyt Axton, right?
Yeah, so it took me a second. It took me a second before I was like, I really know this guy. Like I really
He's the
know what
inventor of the bathroom buddy.
yes. And that's yeah. It took me a second. I was like, fuck me, it's the dad from Gremlins. I didn't know he was a country and western,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Huge
know.
figure, and his father like wrote songs for like fucking Elvis or something, or like
I,
he's proper royalty in that world, right?
I also thought it was hilarious that like he's playing a kind of a boss hog type of character, and at one
Yes,
point he's wearing a boss hog t-shirt
yes,
from The Hazard.
yes. So
Very
that's
meta.
so while they were making Junkman, they filmed some extra scenes, including this chase, kind of pre-Repo Man chase along, the LA River,
Yes.
and then he added edited that in and basically re-released Gone in 60 Seconds as Deadline Auto Theft.
Yeah. So here's a question. So that opening section, because I watched them both. I watched Junkman and I watched Deadline, and there's much more stuff going on in that chase, right? Like there's a character who's freaking out that it's his car, but it
That's
seemed like
do you recognize that guy, by the way? The guy who was
yeah,
freaking it. That's Dan
who
Grimaldi. He's the star of Don't Go in the House,
okay,
the
bizarre.
flamethrower slasher film.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there was much more footage in the Junkman opening segment as when it's
Yes.
appended to. And so was that filmed later, or was that stuff that they had just
I
not
think it
used?
was filmed while they were making Junkman. I think they
Okay.
just filmed for Deadline Auto Theft.
Okay,
And then
right,
there's some of that ends up in Junkman as well. Right.
right.
Yeah. Um, and then
So here's a chance for me to do what I said I was going to do. So what this really is it's kind of like when they dubbed the first two Lone Wolf and Cub films into English, and then
ah,
took the fight scenes from the first one and edited them into the second
right,
one to
right,
make it kind of a non-stop balls to the wall Shogun Assassin, right? And
right. And Andrew added Sandra Bernhardt narration
yes,
and a disco score, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And it has to be said,
fucking
worked
great movie.
brilliantly. Like I
Great movie.
I don't know anyone who's like, fuck that Shogun Assassin and is like a
Oh,
Lone Wolf and Cub completist. If you like Lone Wolf and Cub, it's just a different way of enjoying it, right?
absolutely.
Um, but and just to finish it, so HP Haly ended up like when he was 59 or something, finally making Gone in 60 Seconds 2.
Hey,
Deadline
that
Auto Theft has been renamed Gone in 60 Seconds 2 in Germany, and
right.
Junkman was known as Gone in 60 Seconds 2. But he did finally start making Gone in 60 Seconds 2, and then this water tower stunt, this collapsing water tower stunt went wrong and killed him. Um, you can see on YouTube there's like 33 minutes
Hmm.
of what they did shoot edited
Hmm.
together, and there's some. It looks like it would have been a lot of fun, right?
I've read conflicting opinions about whether the second chunk, so the part where he's driving the massive truck
Yes,
and
yes.
smacking it up, but I've heard conflicting reports as to whether the thing was Slicer,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Slicer,
yeah, 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 yeah.
whether that was actually or was that his widow who had like
Okay. I don't know, but that slicer is a cool con. I like
it's
the idea.
bizarre,
It's like
it's
a
so weird. The way
super sleek kind of
he's
blade-like
going
car
under
that can.
cars and going,
Yeah,
and like, yeah, it's
yeah. It's a
wild
great idea. Someone needs to put Slicer in the
in a
film,
movie.
I think.
Agreed.
And I'm also surprised. I mean, if Ulli Lamel was still alive, he could make a whole new film out of that footage, I'm sure.
Totally.
We need to catch Slicer.
That's a,
Slicer, stop. Um. So anyway, you're wondering what the fuck's this got to do with cold heat? So
ah,
yeah, so basically all the car crash stuff in cold heat
mhm.
is lifted wholesale
From
from
John.
Junkman,
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the addition of edited in like either from the point of view of like the passenger seat or like directly through the front of the windscreen, right? So you get lots of like cops on CB radios like shouting into it, and like there's a
They're
damn vet, right?
they're genius. All of the
Yeah,
stuff with those cops is so fucking good. There's
yeah. I'm
there's
glad you
a
enjoyed it. I wasn't quite sure because
oh my
I
God.
remember enjoying this back in the. I was wondering, is Nick gonna?
It
I
was
suspected you'd probably enjoy it, but
it was so good. There's a yeah, there's a yeah, the Vietnam vet cop is primo. There's a part where yeah, near the end he's like smells like napalm in the morning, only this time with the sweet scent of victory.
yeah,
Um, And then there's the
Yeah.
police chief, the one I said looks a bit like Lloyd Bridges, right? And he has this amazing part where, because one of the things I like about all of these films, actually, including, well, I think it comes from the HB Haly films, it's just a lot of like, oh, we got him, man. Oh shit, no, we don't. It's
Right.
back. Like there's like that happens over and over again. But there's a scene where they're like they're pretty sure they've got him, and then the police chief guy is like, "You see, Burton, crime never pays." And then Burton thoughtfully goes, "I've heard that." It's like such a bizarre fucking exchange. Um, yeah.
There's also the other thing I really like is for some reason I can't fathom, police headquarters is in a horse's stable,
Yep. Yep.
complete with horses.
Yep.
It's just like, what? It reminded me, the only other film I can think of that happens is it maybe in Snuff? Don't the cops, isn't the cop, aren't the cops in
Oh
that film like,
yes.
it's either in a barn or it's just like a desk, like in a
Yeah.
field, like not even under a roof. It's just a
Mhm.
desk in a field with a police captain sitting behind it. That's just so clearly the thing, because that's the thing, right? Um, Ulli, so the only other person who's slightly comparable is Philip Mora, right? Who made Howling 2, Sturber
Hmm.
Werewolf Bitch, which is by far the most entertaining of the Howling films. Now, Philip Mora, especially in the 80s and 90s, he made like a series of like kind of super generic direct-to-video. There's like a remake of Treasure Sierra Madre as a science fiction film called Precious Find, and
Okay.
they're all very tongue in cheek, and
Hmm.
you can tell he's just having. There's like, is it called? There's one called, I think it's called Back in Business, like a buddy cop film. And at some point, the character goes, like white on rice, like dots on dice, like Vincent on motherfucking Price, which I thought was just what? That's great. Um,
Yep.
but Philip Morris stuff is a little bit more obviously like tongue in cheek. Ulli Mel is like so under the radar. Like you can't tell, like, is he taking the piss on, like you
You know
can't
what?
quite
So
tell.
actually, I feel like this is the feeling I had from this, and like the especially like the cops, but also whatever the fuck John Philip Law is doing. And I've realized now, I think John Philip Law is really a terrible actor. And I think he was surrounded in the early days before he was really good looking, right? He was kind of like the who's the new Alfie? He was like the Jude Law
All right,
of
okay.
or like it's like skinny, beautiful guy. And when he was in stuff like Diabolique and Behold a Pale Horse and stuff, he was surrounded by such style and directed by like, really strong directors. You just didn't see how or Barbarella, right? You
Right,
didn't see just how bad he was until you see shit like Space Mutiny and you're like, oh
right,
wow,
right.
he's terrible. And this film he's like yeah, I can't figure out if he's even trying or if he's taking a piss. But what I thought is it reminds me of that European thing like Paul Verhoeven of like there's something when Europeans make movies in America about America where
Right.
everything's just slightly wrong,
Yeah.
slightly tweaked,
But
but
in the
really
case of Ulli
great.
Mel, I think he's fully in command. He knows what he's doing. So I don't know. That's the thing.
I think so is Paul Verhoeven.
Oh yeah, Paul Verhoeven. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking there's other examples where it,
No, they
it's
don't
just a
get
bit
it.
off, right? And I think we know Lil Mel, and he's a protege of Fassbinder, and he directed Tenderness of Wolves and the boogie. And so I think, but if you only saw Cold Heat,
Hmm.
you wouldn't quite know, would you?
No.
You'd be like, hang on,
No.
is this deliberately or is this just fucking retarded? Like you can't
Mhm.
tell, right?
Mhm.
It's so on the edge, and that's why I love it so much,
Yes.
because it makes you think, am I losing my marbles? Like,
Yes.
and for some reason I was so tickled by, hey, bike rider, like it seems like something out like a really bad anime dub or something, like
Yes.
no character
Name.
we must stop Bike
Bike
Rider.
Rider.
Like, they haven't decided. They haven't given anyone
Placeholder name.
character names. Yeah, yeah. I thought that was just. I don't know. I was drinking, as I don't know if that, but I was cracking up. I was like, "This is awesome!" And the whole week I've been doing that to myself. I've been going, "We must catch Bike Rider." Like, something about it just
Um,
tickles me to fucking death.
yeah, so there's also this great moment, like 8 minutes from the end of the movie, where it appears to have ended, and they've rescued. So basically, there's this kind of alcoholic Australian dude who's like,
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah,
yes, yeah, who has been hired by the wife, right, to like kidnap the kid back. So basically, it's this feuding, yeah, husband and wife who are fighting over their custody, basically, right? So
yeah,
yeah, so Australian guy and this woman he's kidnapped who ends up falling in love with him on their, ride across the country. Anyway, they've got the kid back and like he's playing Risk with the like housemaid, and I'm like, there's 8 minutes left. What
right.
the fuck is going on? And then it just, I mean, I spoilers, I guess, but like it just amps up to this next level
Yeah,
where Britt Eklund and John Whitlaw go outside to talk to each other and shoot each other in the face.
yeah. And then
Like,
the kid runs, and yeah, the weird thing with that's framed like a happy ending, and I'm like, is this a happy ending? This is a very weird. I've never seen a Pyrrhic happy ending before, but I think
no.
this is what where it might be. Also, mentioning Robert Saatchi's Bogart stuff is fun as well. Like
Oh, yes.
Al Capone was a friend of mine. Like
Yes. Yeah.
almost anything he says is kind of fun, right?
Oh, and I wanted to send actually a thing. I was going to send a thing to Gino. There's like the timestamp. There's a part where he's, in full Bogart looking thing, speaking to Gino on the phone. And it's like, Gino,
Oh
you're
yeah,
there. I was going
yeah,
to send that. Like, I was like, Gino, you might want to grab. So if you're watching Gino, you might want to grab those few seconds. It's pretty awesome. You can see a very reasonable facsimile of Humphrey Bogart shouting your name.
yes. Um,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So this is just and again, I think you have to be like this is one of those things that there's different strata of appreciation of differently abled cinema, let's say, right? And I think
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
this is not, you got your training wheels, you got your Ed Woods and stuff, and then
Hmm.
maybe you're ready for Teenage Zombies and Frankenstein Island
Hmm.
and Jerry Warren, and
Yeah.
you got and then at a certain point, I think you're sophisticated enough, or whatever the opposite of sophisticated is,
Hmm.
to appreciate the well-crafted, uh, inane,
Hmm.
inane raised to genius level, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it's transcendent, and it's also actually it's edging into Mad Fox's territory. I
A
think.
little bit. Although I
Mhm.
sense as if Mad Foxes is, I don't know. Mad Foxes is still a mystery as to how in on its own joke it is, right?
Mhm.
Cold Heat, I think there's no doubt that
Mhm.
and down to like just both of these. What a absolutely perfect. You can't quite remember it generic title because I keep
Yes,
wanting to call this Cold Sweat or something
me
else.
too. Hmm.
Cold Heat. It's
Yes, and
like
it doesn't help. It doesn't
ah,
help that the sequel is called The Big Sweat
it's
either.
almost as if this film was designed to not be noticed. Like it's
Well,
like Ulli Lamel's like, no, I don't want it to be a cult film. It has to be
mhm.
even lower down than it has to just pop up and take people by surprise.
Mhm. And I mean, there are obviously then there are the questions of legality around the fact that a
Yeah, I
good
don't know where he got the
40%
footage from.
of the
Yeah,
running time is made of, and then this it's slightly less than the next film, which truly dislocates you in time and space by having footage from a 1974 film intercut constantly with footage from a
right.
1990 film. But this one's still, it's nearly a decade, right, between
Yeah,
Junkman and this. And so you get this weird kind of like, and then, yeah, spatial, like who's in what car and what,
but by the
you
time by the time you have that fucking street talk bike going down and bike rider, we must stop bike riding. You're like,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, what, like,
Yeah.
This is just, I don't even, I've totally, and then you cut, oh yeah, I forgot that John Philip Law and Brick Eklund and like, no matter what's going on in her life, Britt Eklund's distracted from reading a magazine, which I thought was awesome. Like, whether it's even her own son being kidnapped, she's like, oh, like, it's like flipping through some kind of lifestyle magazine. Clearly, Ulli Mel just said, oh yeah, just flick through the magazine, that'll be fine. I honestly, it's just I wish there was he's gone now, unfortunately. I don't have a chance to ask. I wish there was a documentary about Olino because I'd really love to know what my image of him is. He's and the more I see, I watch some more 80s of his 80s, and he because he does this trick again and again and again, ripping footage from different places. There's other films that he does this in. And I watched Warbirds recently, which is like his Iron Eagle ripoff, which is another perfect example of it's such a good pastiche that it crosses over into just being and you're like, is he taking the piss? I would love Secrets Revealed Ulli Lamel documentary because my take on it is I think he was just a merry prankster and and somehow no one really figured it out, right? And
Yeah.
because the boogeyman, for example, kind of works as a horror flicker, but even then he ripped himself off with the second one with
Second
footage
one.
from
Yeah.
the boogeyman, right? And the thing is, what happened a little bit was I think his career got overshadowed by that latter period where he made endless serial killer and gore
Yeah.
films, which some of them are just fucking awful and boring. Although some of them have that. Hang
Yeah.
on now. There's one about the Zodiac killer with David Hess in it, which has moments of like, what? Like, hang on, is Lamel the prankster back? Like,
Yeah.
but I think that's what people remember him from now is that last decade or so of like endlessly, mostly crappy, and they are a bit more of a chore. So people tend to think of that when they think of William Mel, if they think of him at all. But the 80s, 90s period, and there's a few I haven't seen yet. I'm sure there's some more gems
Golden there.
to be even just for one more sublime moment of Bikerider. I don't know why that tickles me so much, but just for yeah, I'm gonna trawl some more through the Lamel catalog. But yes, I suppose the companion piece with Cold Heat, because this one is footage from Gone in 60 Seconds, like you said,
Yes.
which
Which
is
is, as I said, truly, truly strange. It almost becomes like the
yes,
chocolates. It becomes like the. So I was trying to remember this because obviously the car with its black stripe to me brings to mind like
Eleanor.
well, yeah, Eleanor, yeah, but she kind of brings to mind Game of Death, right? And then I was
All right,
thinking,
yeah.
did is there like is in Kill Bill is there an Eleanor looking car or not, or am I just imagining
Oh,
that?
yeah. I think she does have a matching car, doesn't she? Which is
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
probably I'm sure Quentin knows his Haly, right, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
no, interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I'm wondering as well. Another film I need to rewatch. It reminded me. I was thinking, did Ulina Mel do a martial arts? He did do that film Overkill in
Okay.
1986, which is like a urban action film, which I haven't seen in
Okay.
years. And now with
Mhm.
my Lamel head on, I'm wondering if
Mhm.
it might be a
Yeah,
tasty treat.
there may be a future show
Oh
in
yeah, if I stumble
potentially.
across any more like gems,
Mhm. Mhm.
we will have to do a bike rider special. But so Big Sweat, not only
Mhm.
is it a cut and paste again in inanity of breathtaking degree, it's
Pretty damn
also
good, I have to say. I thought like, oh man, like can this possibly even come? And it's not
it's
quite.
not as good as Cold Heart. It
It
doesn't have a
can't
bike
quite
rider
get.
moment, but it's
No, but it's still pretty good.
well more among its many delights
Mhm.
is it's a starring role for Robert Zadar, right?
Yes. Yes, and I this was actually this almost pushed me out of the film in the same way that the first time I watched Cynic the Rat and the Fist, and Maurizio Merli isn't playing his usual apoplectic self. He's playing this weird happy-go-lucky.
Right,
This was
right.
this was for me. I was like,
This
which
is weird, yeah.
what Robert Zadar is
Yeah.
this? Like,
What? Not even. I mean, yes, because it's Robin Zadar as well adds an. But even no matter who's playing it, it's such a weird character. So he's like a federal agent who's come
hmm
out of retirement, chose some fat guy to be a sidekick because he's got a nice
yes,
face,
baby face. Yep.
and like he's just terminally cheerful through the whole film, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He says, "I'm always high, a very happy man," and people say to him constantly, "You're a funny guy, Trudeau," and he is. He's
Yes.
just like this cigar chomping and the incongruity of because Robert Starr looks the way he looks, like he has that
Mhm.
kind of Rondo Hatton thing
Yep.
going on, but he's like, "Hey, ho," and no matter what happens, he's just like,
hmm
it's like, what the fuck is this?
He's
It's
super chill.
so strange.
Um, and then I quite enjoy the fact that he's introduced by somebody else as the future of law enforcement. I was like, what the Trudeau
Yeah,
cop?
you thought it was RoboCop, but it's not. It's
No,
it's
no.
it's Ago Cop,
Trudeau.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um, but yeah, I mean, if you know Robert Zadar at all, you know him from, the Maniac Cop and like yeah, he tends to play monsters
yeah,
or,
he's not. He's the cheerful, cheery cop or cheery fed, right?
hmm Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's almost always the heavy, right? Because you
Yeah.
would cast him as a heavy, right?
hmm
Um, so again, Lamel genius at work. Right? I don't know how many other times. I mean, I know he's in. Is it Robert Zadar who stars in like Samurai Cop? That's Robert Zadar, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's him
But
too.
again,
Yes. Yeah.
hero, but he's not happy-go-lucky hero.
Nope.
Um, Also, obviously, Ulli
He,
Lamel
he's
was
probably
like,
the best. He's the best actor in the film too, by quite a
yeah,
long
which
stretch.
is
I
not
realized
saying, yeah,
no, it's not. But actually, it made me give him a second thought. I was like, he had more range than I think he was allowed to show in most of the things we've seen him in.
yeah, I guess. Whoa, what a generous man you are, Nick. Um,
I don't know.
so yeah, and yeah, so there's all this. So there's an ex-con played by Stephen Maloney, who I don't think was in anything else. He gets
No,
out and
very
some,
Adrian Brody adjacent looking dude. And he shows up wearing dungarees at the beginning, and I thought,
yeah,
oh, Clive's
this
gonna
guy's this guy's um Oscar acceptance speech would be a lot shorter, hopefully. But
yes.
so
Uh,
um so he yeah, and some mobsters want him to come back, and they set up a robbery, and for some reason Robert Zdar's really keen to have him turn state's evidence against this
hmm.
gangster character, right? Um and
Plus,
again,
it's at the easiest
obviously Ulli
bank
Lamel was
heist I've
like,
ever seen.
huh?
That bank heist is the easiest bank heist ever. It takes all
Yeah.
of like a minute of screen time.
And then Lamel was like, oh, that footage, what we did with the point of view from the passenger seat in the windscreen, that worked so well in Cold Heat.
hmm
We'll do that again, but also we'll add like a rapey guy in the back seat
Yes.
with and it fucking hell, he takes his like the whole length of the movie. He's just there going
Yeah,
slobbering, and I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, man, you've had
one
plenty
of my
of time.
notes, one of my notes was that like this in terms of screen time easily beats I Spit on Your Grave. Like for like longest cinematic sexual assault, I think.
But
It's
he
like
never actually gets
45 minutes of
anything
the
done.
movie.
That's the
No. And then at the end of the movie, he appears to be in a relationship with her when they flash forward the year. You're like, wow, okay.
yeah, that's weird. So not
Mhm.
only do at the step, yeah, flash out to Mexico 1 year, but also the film, as far as I can tell, just ends, right?
Oh,
There is
it's
no
brilliant.
ending, right?
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
It ends with basically, yeah, like him agreeing to go state's evidence, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna take it to like Rinks or whatever the guy's name is, the guy. And then we just cut to like a photograph of the bad guys, and it just goes up in flames slowly and
yes,
curls up. We're like,
yeah,
oh, I that what?
yeah, to know, ran out of
What the
time.
fuck?
Yeah.
Like we don't have the money to shoot this, so we're just not gonna worry about it.
There's also quite a bit of bits in the film where like again, Ulli Lamel's not taking it too seriously. So you can tell there's a few bits where, well, he's a as Max Bolt, he has written just some fantastically non sequitur dialogue, which is just
Mm.
wow, like too many to list.
Yeah.
But also there's a few bits where he's clearly just let his actors like improv. Like there's one bit in
Hmm.
particular, one of the characters just, I don't know what even he's doing. He's just like going, eh, eh, in someone's face or something like, and you're like, what is this? Like,
Yep.
it's just, yeah,
Well,
it's not
and we have.
quite. Cold Heat is fine tuned to
Yes.
be bike rider good, but the Big Sweat is not far off in terms of pure
No.
entertainment. But both of them, I think the genius of both of them though is the fact that they, in a way, us talking about is kind of missing the, because the way they work best. What I like is they're out there in the world
Hmm.
floating around. It would have made more sense in the video era when you were renting stuff, but
Yeah.
flashback to 93 or something, and there's a family go to the video shop and they've rented everything, and they're like, oh, what's left? Oh, what's this? And they take either Cold Heat or Big Sweat home,
Hmm.
hoping for a fun night of like, I know they've seen all the Schwarzenegger films, they've
Hmm.
seen all the Van Damme, they've seen all the Steven Seagal ones, and they're like, oh, what's left? And they,
Hmm.
can you imagine people's reactions? Like they
Yeah.
wouldn't quite know. Is this just really bad, or is like almost like they've just turned and someone's just going at them, like,
Right.
but in a good natured way. Like it's not
Mm.
mean like some films you see which are just thrown together and they're just like
Just
truly
contempt. Just
cynical. Yeah,
contempt.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Contempt.
No,
This
there's
is
no
not
contempt.
that. This is
It feels like it's
playful.
done with some kind of love.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And this thing, I mean, because they also, he's stolen well, right? He's stolen great footage.
Yes,
Um, so
yes,
that there is a propulsive element to both of these films where once they get rolling, especially the first one,
yes.
especially Cold Heat, but both of them, where once you're locked in and you're strapped in, you're just like it almost had I mean, both of them, but especially Cold Heat. There's parts of it where I felt like I was in the cinema watching Fury Road again and having that giddy sense of like, holy shit, like this will not stop. And it just, every time I think it's going to flag, something more ridiculous or crazy or another car crashes or a piece of totally insane dialogue, you
Yeah,
know.
we also forgot to mention the other great thing about Cold Heat is the relentless rock riff.
Yes.
And just when you think it ends, the loop starts again.
Yeah.
Like fucking all the way through. And then people are screaming into CBs and we're gonna get
Mm.
him now. And like, yeah, this is just like enough. You motherfucker.
Yeah,
Bike
no.
rider.
It's
We must catch bike rider.
it's
It's like
it's got
it
energy for
drives
five
you
movies.
down. Huh?
Yes. It's got energy for five movies.
Oh,
You know,
it's crazy.
if you
It's
could
like,
find a way to tap it, you could fucking power a small nation.
yeah, from very little. It's the closest we've come to a perpetual motion machine where
Motion
you get the
machine.
most
Yes.
energy out of such a little amount of.
Yeah.
They've tapped into Robert Zadar's chin, right? And they can power a whole city from
I
it.
would just love to know, did anyone do interviews with John Philip Law about this era of his career, the space mutiny, you know, cold heat, like what was
Right.
going through his mind when he was like doing
Well,
this,
more than
you know?
I really want to know if did anyone do a, because I know he's interviewed on like some Fassbinder discs and things like that about that part of his career. But I
Right.
really do feel as if the middle section between the art section and the serial killer section, this
Mhm.
golden era
Mhm.
of Lamel still is almost, and like you never hear people talk about it,
No,
right? I mean,
no.
apart from maybe people remember Boogeyman
Mm.
because it was a video nasty,
Yes, yeah.
but almost all the other stuff is because he made some films as well, which were. I mean, I have to go back and watch them now with the Lamel eye. But there was a few
Mhm.
films he made in the 80s. I feel as if the early, like, so he comes over and he does things like Cocaine Cowboys and Black
Mhm.
Generation, which is another weird, like the American
Yeah.
art house kind.
Yes, yes,
And then he
yeah.
gets into like stuff like and I'm feeling as if that stuff was less tongue in cheek, right? So Bogeyman's a
Mhm.
bit more straight up, Devonsville Terror more of a straight up horror film. He makes that film Brainwaves with Tony Curtis when he was a crack addict, right? And
Mhm.
which kind of plays out, I think, more or less fairly straight.
Right.
And then it seems to be, and then he does things with that film with Klaus Kinski. Oh, there's a really good film he made called Double Jeopardy about Jack the Ripper and London Bridge in the Arizona desert, and that's really good.
Okay.
Um,
I haven't-
and then I
Okay.
feel as if mid 80s, that's when he starts kind of pulling off this kind of shit, and it's a very gradual kind of move into it, like from Warbirds onwards. Um, yeah, so I'd be very interested to kind of, like you said, we
Well,
may, I don't know, so tempting to do it as a
you know, have
project,
the summer.
right?
We have the summer, it's I definitely based on this.
You know, you
Um
loose lips sink ships, Nick. Be very careful saying shit like that to me,
this is
otherwise
true.
I'll have you on your
You
hands
know
and knees watching Lamel all summer.
what's funny is that in a way I had to look it up. I was like, I was like, White Star's not a Lamel film, but it's not. It's Roland Click, another
No, but it
German.
does have that vibe to it a
I got
little
the
bit.
feel of it though,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that David A. Hess and a very, very yeah, fucked up Dennis
Yeah. No,
Hopper.
Dennis Hopper doesn't remember making that film.
No way. Mountains of cocaine, I suspect, were yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. I mean, do
No,
yourself.
actually, honestly, this is one of these things where I will stop and say thanks. Like, there are
It
times
has
when you have to,
enriched your life.
yes, absolutely. This week was much, much better for having
Good. I'm
sat through.
glad. I'm glad it paid off because I was just like, well, I've just watched this. It's fresh in my mind. If Nick's up for it, yeah, we should have a chat about this because,
No,
yeah,
I knew within minutes that I was into something special. In that way you just get that feeling of like, ooh, yes. In that Mad Fox's way. Like
yes,
it takes 2 minutes of Mad Foxes before you're like, hang on. What's
yeah,
happening?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
yeah.
they're both on YouTube. So
Mm.
yes, you should check out.
Run, don't walk to
No, run,
see.
don't walk. All
Yeah.
right, bike rider, we must stop.
Bike
Bike
rider.
rider.